and I thought I'd just go live for about 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna head off for a date with my fiance. But before that, I wanted to talk about this subject of that was brought up through a conversation I was having with a friend of mine last night. I went for this walk and talk, and it was a conversation on why do we not do the things that we need to be doing? Why do we not eat healthy? Why do we not look after ourselves, go to the gym? Why do we not work on our businesses? Approach clients. Why do we not put ourselves out there in the way that we want to, or at least we tell ourselves we want to? And yet, for some reason, we always seem to struggle to take those actions. Maybe it's to approach a girl or that you are attracted to, or maybe it's that having a conversation with your partner about something that bothers you, something that you know is important to you. And so we were having this conversation, right? This guy struggling with showing up for himself in his business, procrastinating, right? What are we talking about? We're talking about procrastinating. Why do we procrastinate? And today I wanted to share with you my opinion, my thoughts on where that stems from. What is the core underlying cause of why we procrastinate, why we don't take action even when we have an initial urge to do something. And if you're not sure or you're not aware yet, my name's Joel, and I'm a transformational mindset coach for entrepreneurs. Now, that's one of these terms, mindset coach, one of these terms that kind of gets thrown about and people are not necessarily sure what that actually means. But essentially, I help entrepreneurs make this shift, change how they're seeing themselves. So it's changing the self-perception, how to start get their spark back. Hi, Brentley, good to see you, man. How do you get your spark back in your relationship? How do you get your spark back for the business that you started? Because so often we get started in things and then we drop off, we get bored, we tell ourselves we get bored. Or we start something and it's exciting and then we get used to it and it becomes mundane. And what I help entrepreneurs with is how to make that shift back to being excited about what they do. How to change how they feel about themselves so that they relate to their employees. You've got a pet chicken, that's very cool. I do not have a pet chicken, although I'm currently sitting in an area that some pet chickens would fit right in around here. Just the one pet chicken, Brentley. So anyway, talking about what sits at the core of why we don't take action? What sits at the core of why we procrastinate, whether it's on your health, your business, your job, like doing well, putting more effort into your work? What is the underlying problem and what is the fix? And I'm going to lay it out for you and then go into more detail as to why, maybe connect the dots if it's not so apparent. In my opinion and in my experience, it is a lack of self-love that causes us to procrastinate. It is a lack of self-care, like seeing ourselves as somebody valuable enough and worthwhile enough taken care of. Because if you think about it, why do you not look after yourself? Why do you not go to the gym? You can say, well, you're lazy or whatever, but ultimately at the core of your identity, there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you're worthwhile taken care of. Because if you truly believed, if you think about the kind of advice that you would give to somebody else that you care about, it's very easy to give somebody else advice that you care about and say, look, I see this potential that you have in you. I think but you're currently not looking after yourself. You should go to the gym, or you've got so much potential to create a really great business. You should go after that. You should explore that opportunity. We give this advice, and we can see this in other people that we care about. But when it comes to us, if you feel like I'm not valuable enough, I'm not deserving of love in some way, I'm not enough at some level, right? That's what it comes down to, feeling like we are not enough at some level. And when we feel that way, it displays itself in a whole range of symptoms. Not taking care of yourself, not taking care of your health, but then also not going out there and exploring your potential, right? Really going out there and going, I am worth something more than I currently am, and I'm going to explore that. Am I Australian? I'm not. I'm New Zealand. I'm Kiwi from New Zealand, mate. But I've been, hello, Sol. I've been out of New Zealand for about 11 years. I spent several years in Germany and then several years in the UK. So I've got a bit of an accent, but nothing too strong anymore. And now I'm in Southeast Asia for the last year or so. I'm good, Sausage, thank you. Just wanted to jump on here and talk about this conversation that I had with a friend of mine last night and what it sparked, because he's a guy who's got so much potential, and he wants to do so many things, but then he keeps getting in his own way, right? He keeps stopping himself. He keeps procrastinating, whether it's on his taking care of himself with his diet, exercise, not doing the things he needs to do within his business. Hi, Song. Good to see you. Happy Friday, Sol. Hi, yes. And so he was really struggling and was trying to figure out, he's trying to analyze this from an intellectual perspective, right? This is what we do. We tend to intellectualize our problems. And we think if you're somebody who maybe is a little bit ADHD or really like systems and strategy and things, we try to separate ourselves from our emotions and try to create some sort of system that's going to help us to take action. This is what my friend was doing. That's all right, Song. Or Son Goku. Oh, Son Goku. I'm an idiot. I don't know. His names, I don't always understand. Anyway, so I don't know. How are you guys? Are you? Maybe we've got some procrastinators in the audience, or you're not taking care of yourself in some way. And I'd love to hear what that might be for you, what that might look like, and why do you think that is? Because what I noticed in my friend is that he was trying to think himself out of a feeling problem. And the reason that it's a feeling problem is because the emotion is the thing that gives us energy, right? Emotion is energy in motion. It's what drives us to take action. And if you are somebody who intellectualizes everything, and you intellectualize yourself, your thoughts, your way of understanding the world as a way of suppressing your emotions, and when you suppress your emotions, then you are no longer, you're starving yourself of the fuel required to go out and do things, the fuel to go and talk to the girl, the fuel to make progress in your business, or to go to the gym, or to look after yourself. And so we're cognitive creatures, so it's very easy to want to try and intellectualize our problems, but by doing so we're actually making them worse, because you start to think like, oh, why am I not taking action? And you start to try and theorize it, right? Intellectualize it. And by doing that, you are ignoring the real power that you have, which is your emotions, and using your emotions and when you start to feel and fully accept your emotions, and you start to fully accept who you are in this moment, and love yourself in this moment. And I know it sounds all woo-woo and soft and all that sort of stuff, and trust me, I've been in that place where I didn't want to, it sounded too weak and gooey, and I didn't want to approach or deal with emotions. I saw them as a weakness, something that got in the way. But when you start to understand that emotions are the fuel for your goals, then you start to give them the respect that they deserve. And when it comes to like trying to solve your procrastination, if you're somebody who's procrastinating, the number one piece of advice that I can give you to try is to learn to love yourself and accept yourself. Now, accepting yourself doesn't mean that you don't want to improve or get better. Accepting yourself simply means, if I accepted myself in this situation, how would I act? If I go into a social interaction with a group of people, for example, maybe you're somebody who's socially anxious and you don't like the idea of going into a social situation, a group of people. But if you hello, Getrayuda, I'm butchering the names. If you fully accepted yourself and really loved yourself, how would you behave? How would you show up in a social interaction? You can start to try and imagine what it would be like if you really accepted who you are in this moment. And when you start to live from that place of fully accepting who you are, fully loving the person that you are and the person that you're becoming as well, it's like the ultimate superpower. It really is the ultimate superpower, because all of a sudden you're not dependent on external validation, external influence. You can, for example, you can start creating content for your business, start putting your message out there, because you're not concerned about, what if somebody says something or criticizes me or whatever, because you don't care anymore, because you know that you can give yourself everything that you need in that moment. You don't need to rely on somebody else. And because you fully accept and love yourself, then when they insult you or criticize you, as inevitably some people will do, it doesn't matter. It just washes off, because it's no longer they're no longer talking about you, right? There's no part within you that resonates with what they're saying. Because in order for you to feel insecure and to feel hurt by somebody, part of you has to agree with what they're saying. It's like if I said, if you're somebody with blonde hair, I'm somebody with blonde hair, right? If somebody comes up to me and says, I really hate your pink hair, do I get upset at that? Well, no, of course not, because I don't have pink hair. They're not talking about me. So if you get to that point where, I'll answer your question in a sec, Satua, if you get to that point where you realize that the things that people are saying about you are not actually about you, and when you fully accept and love yourself, then you don't feel like there is something within you that you have to kind of respond to. What's my goal for this year? Good question. So the goal for this year is developing my coaching business. So I have this, so I'm a transformational mindset coach for entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs reclaim the spark for their business and in their relationships. Because these are the two primary things. If we struggle with ourselves, then we struggle with the way that we interact with others. So that inevitably knocks on to our relationships. And when we struggle in our relationships, both with ourselves and with others, that impacts how we earn our income, how we just generally feel. We're social creatures, so how we feel in our lives. So relationships and business are the two primary focuses of my coaching business. And so the goal for this year is I'm currently planning a launch for a program that I've put together, and that's going to do really well. I'm really excited to share that with people. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Other than that, I'm here in Da Nang, Vietnam, and not that you can tell from the video, but I'm also exploring how possible is it to create like a really amazing fitness, lifestyle, co-working space here in Da Nang. Because like with recovery, with co-working, cafe, really good high quality gym, beautiful space, garden, ice bath, sauna, that sort of thing. And I'm exploring that just step by step. It's a big project. I'm not sure whether it's something that's viable for me at this moment, but one of the things that I've learned is that we can try and map out all of the steps, like all of the parts of our goal. So if you, for example, if you want to achieve something amazing, if you then try and figure out all of the steps, all of the things that need to happen between now and achieving your goal, before you've taken any sort of step towards it, you get overwhelmed with that task. It just becomes too big of a thing because you can't possibly predict all of the steps. You can't possibly map out the path between where you are now and your really big goal. And so the way that I've shifted, because that's what I used to do, right, is you try to analyze the situation, get really clear, and I'll answer that question in a sec as well. So and when you map out so you can't map out the path, and so it becomes overwhelming, and then you inevitably don't take action. So what I'm doing instead, and this is what I advise other people to do, is if you have a really big goal, just think about what is the next step. So you know what the goal is, but what is the next step? And take it as an exploration rather than a plan. So instead of trying to figure it out, you instead just go into it with curiosity and think, okay, what's the next thing I need to figure out? And do it from that. And that's what I'm approaching this really big project with as well at the moment. Now, how do you improve your memory? You forget names. I can't advise on your studies too much. I'm not a memory expert, but when it comes to remembering people's names, the reason that most people forget somebody's name when just after they've introduced themselves. Oh look, there's a dog. Hey mama. Hello. Hey. The reason that we forget somebody's name when we go into a new, meet somebody for the first time is because we're not actually paying attention to when they say their name. So we go to introduce ourselves and somebody says their name and all we're thinking about is our name. Like, oh, I've got to tell them my name. And so you're not actually paying attention. So actually one of the biggest switches is to really pay attention to when somebody is introducing themselves. Really pay attention so you're properly listening, and then repeat it back to them a couple of times. Because I'm the same. I used to really struggle with remembering people's names, and because of that, I decided I want to actually, it's a sign of respect to remember somebody's name, as well as a really great tool for creating real connection and helping somebody else feel seen, heard, and understood. And so it's a valuable skill. And so what I've been doing is reminding myself, okay, when I ask for their name, listen to the answer, like pay attention. And then I'll repeat it back to them. And another great thing is you can basically connect their name in your mind with a really absurd image. So I don't know, an example might be if their name is Melissa, you might imagine a giant M in neon light above their head, or maybe it's the full name. You want to connect the audio, the auditory, so their actual name, with a visual representation in your mind, and that makes it much easier to remember. And the more absurd it is, and as well as connected to the situation within which you're meeting them, the more effective it is. So that works really, really well. Hi, Official Strange. As far as your studies go, I mean, there are people out there much more qualified to help you with this. The one thing that I do know is that it's been pretty well established that quick tests immediately after learning something reinforces the lesson. So, and it doesn't have to be a long test, just like a short quiz after learning for an hour, for example, a 5-minute quiz or a 2-minute quiz. really reinforces the learning. So what I would suggest is find ways that you can quiz yourself repeatedly throughout the learning process, throughout your study day or whatever it is. Because it basically, oh, and that's the other thing actually. The other thing is give yourself short breaks in between when you're learning. So let's say you're deep in your studies for maybe it's 15 minutes. Give yourself 2 minutes, like just pause within that period for a minute. Because what happens is when you pause and don't go on your phone, just literally stop, is that your mind basically repeats, it replays the information that you've just been paying attention, or that you've just been learning. And that repetition, that replay, helps to embed the knowledge in your mind as well. So that really works. But no doubt there are people online who have some really good insights. I think probably people like Ali Abdaal are good for learning how to study more effectively or efficiently, I think, maybe. There's a great book on memory by, what's his name? I want to say Dan Brown, but it's not Dan Brown because that's a different author. If you look up like mentalism, that's also a great place to learn some new tricks. For example, like how to remember stuff by attaching it to a visual representation of a really familiar house, for example. Like if you like the house that you grew up in when you were young, maybe not really well. Well, what you can do is when you need to remember something, you take that piece of information and in your mind you go to a specific drawer in the cupboard in a room in that house that you know really well, and you imagine putting it down on paper, that piece of information, and putting it in the drawer. And it sounds strange, but what you can then do is when you need to remember that information, you go back into your mind, you walk through the house, you go to that drawer, you open the drawer, and you will see the information there, and it'll help you to remember. It's a really cool trick as well. So yeah, anyway, what I got started with in this conversation was like, how do you take action? Because we all struggle with, well, maybe not all of us, but I'm assuming that if you're on here watching it live on YouTube, you're probably doing so because you're procrastinating and avoiding something else. And if that is you, then what is the solution? I believe, and I've seen this work well both for myself as well as some of my clients, is once you truly start to love yourself and treat yourself as someone that you deeply care about, that's when you start to take the action. That's when you start to respect the goals that you have. You start to respect your health. You know, you want to look after yourself because you give a damn about yourself. You care about yourself. And I think that so often we go through life trying to get other people to make us feel seen and loved and cared for, and yet we never place any focus on doing that for ourselves. And we have that ability. We have the ability to accept ourselves and to love ourselves. We don't need to rely on external sources. It's always nice to have those external sources as well, of course, but if you are always relying on external sources, then you're going to struggle when you're not getting what you need because you can't give it to yourself. Here comes the dog again. Hello. So learning to and practicing being accepting of yourself is really important. There's like this train of ants. I just want to show you this. Just where I'm sitting. You see these? Just an absolute army of ants coming from, you see them on the edge of the white there. Maybe that's not quite so visible, but just an absolute army of ants carrying away some food. They've all got something. The cool things that you can notice when you're actually present. Anyway, I will leave it at that. I'm going to go on a date with my fiance now because I care about myself enough to value those kinds of connections. Seems sort of counterintuitive around the wrong way, but your life will improve when you start to value yourself properly, not in a trying to convince yourself that you're so amazing, not in some sort of ego sense where you're trying to put yourself above others, but when you truly accept and love yourself for who you are, that's when you can be calm and at peace with yourself. And when you can do that, then other people will be drawn to you. They'll be absolutely attracted to who you are and want a piece of the action, because most people are walking around insecure within themselves. And so if you can be somebody who's fully present and calm and at peace and accepting of yourself, then that energy will show up in everything that you do, and other people pay attention to it. And that energy not only will help you in the things that you want to get done, in in the routines and the habits that you want to build, but also just in the quality of life that you have, because all of a sudden you feel amazing and people want to be around you, and you attract the right people into your life, and then that creates a whole lot of other opportunities for you. So I really encourage you also to practice. Oh, and I've been talking about how what the solution is, but I didn't give you any sort of tips on how to actually go about this. Okay, before I go, this is going to sound really a bit woo-woo or a bit weird, but the number one tip I can give you to start out with is try this for the next 5 days. Take 15 seconds in the morning when you wake up to go and look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. And mean it. Like, do your best to mean it. Look yourself in the mirror, say it out loud. I think it works better when you say it out loud. Say, I love you, man. You're amazing. You're valuable. You are loved. You deserve the world. Look yourself in the mirror and say that, and imagine what it would feel like if you were to accept that message and to live from that place. It sounds weird, but try it out. 15 seconds a day, 5 days. That's all it requires. That's all it takes. See what changes for you. Because for me, I was really depressed. I was suicidal. I was lonely. I'd broken up with my partner at the time. Lost a whole lot of money. And I realized that if I was going to carry on living, I needed to start doing something differently. And up until that point, I'd been suppressing the emotions. I'd been telling myself I could be happy. I would deserve to be happy once I reached a certain amount, a certain income level, a certain fitness level. I told myself that I wasn't deserving of things until I'd earned them, until I'd reached some arbitrary level. And the problem with that is it makes it really hard to get there, because you don't think you're deserving of them now. And if you don't think you're deserving of good things now, then you repel them, right? Every time something good shows up into your life, you're like, no, not yet. I haven't earned it yet. I'm not worthy of it yet. And this exercise of looking myself in the mirror and telling myself that I love myself and I accepted myself really helped it was one of the things that helped shift my internal state from feeling like I was undeserving of love and good things and success in life, to really feeling planted in who I was, grounded, accepting of myself, and able to continue. And it honestly, it improved the quality of my life tremendously. When I started to come from that point of view, I attracted my partner back into my life. That's another story for another day. But the world really changes when you start to fully accept who you are. That doesn't mean you don't want to get better, but you accept yourself as you are right now, and you love yourself enough, ideally fully, but you love yourself enough to start doing things that are good for you. All right, I will see you in the next one. Peace. Until then, try it out.